So the next story I want to talk to you about is there was a story in the UK about Keir Starmer, who is the current head of the Labour Party over there, telling Jeremy Corbyn, who was the previous leader of the Labour Party, that he couldn't run on the party ticket in his hometown, where he'd been elected for many, many years. So it's interesting because at face value, I'm of two minds about this. So the first is kind of an understandable, part of me, and I don't want to say has sympathy for Keir Starmer. I don't. I think he's destroying Labour and the Labour Party. But if you're the leader of a party and you're trying to take that party in a particular direction, then if you see someone in the party who doesn't represent your view, then one of the things that you would rationally do, since you have this power, is tell that person, hey, no one's saying you can't run for office, but what we are saying is you can't run on this ticket, right? We don't give you permission to run on our ticket. You can run on name recognition alone. And by the way, I actually think that Jeremy Corbyn probably could win a local election as an independent on name recognition alone. He doesn't have to be affiliated with Labour for people to think, oh, Jeremy Corbyn, right? And especially because he was very close to being prime minister. He was very vocal in Parliament. There were lots of stories written about him. People know his name, right? So it's not difficult. And many people, even over here in the U.S., who aren't dual citizens like I am, have heard of him, right? So it's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility that he could do it. So Keir Starmer saying, hey, you're welcome to run, but we'll either run someone against you or we're just not going to allow you to serve on a ticket. So I'm kind of one mind around that, right? Kind of an institutionalist. Like, how, if I was Keir and I was kind of an institutionalist, what would I be thinking, right? And that's kind of that first take. The second mind I am about this is kind of this kind of gut reaction, which is, hey, we've structured democracy around party politics, whether you like it or not. Every democracy on earth presently runs in some sort of party politics. There are no true independent democracies where individual citizens of their own volition rise up without any infrastructure, whatever, build that up, then tear it down. We have parties, right? And parties are great. They are shortcuts for ideologies sometimes. They present resources. They carry name recognition for you. There's lots of things that parties do that are really helpful to a candidate who's seeking office, right? And sometimes that requires people to run in parties that they don't necessarily agree with. Bernie Sanders in the US is an excellent example of someone running within a party system that he doesn't really totally agree with, right? Because the Democrats are really no longer the party of FDR, which is more of what his ideology syncs up towards. And so, there's going to be situations like this around the world. So if you are Jeremy Corbyn then, and the party that you have led and that has been with you this entire time and has been quite good to you, suddenly says you can't run on their ticket, well, you're going to see that as being a jab at you, but more specifically, a jab at kind of the democratic process, right? Because if you've done your work for the party, it's hard for me to look at that straight in the face and say that this isn't an undemocratic move to exile someone who the head of the party doesn't agree with. And that's also kind of what's happening here, right? Keir Starmer doesn't agree with Jeremy Corbyn's vision for the Labour Party and his vision for Britain. And so, Keir Starmer kind of led the vote against Jeremy Corbyn and, got him out of leadership, as well as kind of pushing the party in a different direction. And so, because these democratic processes are so involved in the parties and the parties have so much influence over kind of how the democratic process works, it is fairly reasonable to say that kicking someone out of what is effectively their own party and telling them tough luck out there is undemocratic, because we have tied party processes to democratic processes in England and the US. So I think it's problematic for people to be kicked out of parties for kind of petty disagreements. Not look, that doesn't mean that there aren't perfectly good reasons to kick someone out of a political party, right? I think in some cases, criminal history can cause someone not to want to support you in the party, right? But ultimately, the party is just a vehicle, right? The real choosers about whether someone is worthy to be in office or party leadership, right, are the individual constituents or the party constituents, as it may be. And so, personally, I feel as if we, as I'm not in the party, right? But if I was thinking for them, like, Keir and party leadership should just really not touch Jeremy Corbyn at all, right? If they don't want to create a backlash, don't do or say anything to or about him, and let the people decide if they're still interested in Jeremy Corbyn, right? But if you attack him in this way, and that's what this is, right? You're jockeying, but it's an attack. You may actually undo the work that you're trying to do, which is to, make him less politically relevant. And so, I would not be supportive of pretty much anyone being kicked out of a political party for pretty much any reason. There's going to be some exceptions, and I can't really think of them off the top of my head, but, I would venture to say that because we have attached party politics so closely to national politics in many places, that kicking someone out of a party is very close to kicking them out of the democratic process, and I don't think that's right. It's ultimately up to voters to decide if someone should be in or leave the democratic process, and we should make it easier, not more difficult, for individuals to raise their hand and attempt to be part of politics, because that is what allows you to kind of have a more varied and more representative society, is to knock down those roadblocks as opposed to put them up. And I think Keir's move here is actively wrong in the sense that you are putting up additional hurdles for Jeremy Corbyn, who you don't have to disagree with, to get on the national stage. But I understand why he's doing it, right? So I'm kind of torn on that. But I just wanted to put my thoughts out there on that, because I know there's been some. I've seen some very harsh reactions on both sides about these particular items, and I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on that.
Thank you so much for watching this video from Let Them Eat Bread. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Twitch and on Facebook, where announcements about our page are kept. We make videos every week, and you can find all of our videos at youtube.com/LetThemEatBread. Thanks again, and see you next time.